Meeting will come to order for September 15th. Roll call, City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham.
Present.
Commissioner Galt.
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Mayor Kaler.
Present. Tonight, Commissioner Abraham will do our invocation. Our Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Annie Herschel. Thank you so much. Fifth grader at Clark Elementary. And Henschel. Sorry. We've already met. We're friends, aren't we? Okay. So before we have our invocation tonight, though, I'd like for us to all, upon standing, have a moment of silence for the state trooper who lost his life this week. Thank you.
Our Father which art in heaven, Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunities that you lie before us. Father, on this night we lift up the family of a state trooper that was so brutally shot. Father, we pray for his family, that your spirit will comfort them. And Father, we pray that this nation starts to really look at what we're doing, the motives of what we're doing. And we pray that through some body, some thing, that your spirit is poured on them. The violence, the malice, all of these things does not reflect you. So Father, we pray that as we lay our heads on our pillows tonight, that we pray for one another. We ask a special blessing over our police officers as they go out and hold that thin blue line. These things we ask in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Annie, you can come on up.
I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I hope you'll come back again. City Manager, are there any additions or deletions?
No, other than we are going to amend the agenda at the appropriate time to move item 2 resolution behind the executive session. But okay. That will require a motion, is that right, Tammy, at the appropriate time?
Okay. I have a proclamation tonight. Whereas it is important to help people of all ages develop an appreciation of the oral cultural heritage of both the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the world, and whereas storytelling is one of the traditional ways that Kentucky elders have taught younger generations about their ancestors, heritage, and culture. And storytelling can be used as an educational tool in any discipline for any age. And whereas the Kentucky Storytelling Association, Inc. is a 501c3 nonprofit membership organization whose mission is to develop ongoing support and appreciation for storytelling in the Commonwealth. And whereas we are proud of the Paducah Tillman High School speech team members who will be visiting local elementary schools September 16th in honor of Storytelling Week. And whereas it is important for us to have an understanding and appreciation for storytelling as both a performing art and as an everyday activity essential for strong families and communities. Now, therefore, I, Gail Kaler, Mayor of Paducah, do hereby declare September 16th, 2015 as Paducah Storytelling Month, and encourage all citizens to participate in its observance by telling a story, and I think we can all do that, can't we? Listening to a story, and we can certainly do that, and celebrating the power of storytelling. So, I think as as families, as we grow up, we hear stories of our parents and our grandparents, and things about families are passed down that way. And, of course, centuries and centuries ago, that was the only way they could pass the history from generation to generation. So I commend you, the Tillman speech team, for doing this. Thank you. And I'll be glad to present this to you. I also have something else I would like to present. So, Meg, if you and Palmer will come on up, I'll give you the proclamation. And Palmer, I've already given Meg a Duchess, so it's time for you to be a Duke. All to whom these presents shall come, greeting. Know ye that Palmer Stewart is named the Duke of Paducah. I hereby confer this honor with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. In testimony whereof I have caused these letters to be made patent in the seal of the city of the year to affix, done at Paducah the 15th day of September in the year of our Lord 2015. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, Palmer, that might get you at the front of the line in the blue room tomorrow, man. I don't know. Yeah, that.
Palmer, use it on your college application.
Yes, I will.
Be very impressive. The Duke.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, Meg.
So tonight we have a workshop presentation. Steve Irwin, our Transportation Improvements and Transportation Alternative Program. Hi, Steve.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. We are going to talk tonight about potential changes within our downtown transportation network and how they will improve mobility, enhance our biking culture, and increase economic prosperity in our downtown. I think one of the first things we should do is start with a review of what's already been done. When Jeff Speck visited Paducah last year, he spoke about the walk being useful, safe, comfortable, and interesting. Following are the 10 criteria that he highlighted in his visit. First, the city's need to have a network of many small blocks. It is important to have the right number of driving lanes. Cities need lanes of proper width. Urban lane width in excess of 10 feet encourage higher speeds that increase risk to pedestrians. Paducah has many downtown roadways that are currently 12 feet wide. Cities need to avoid one-way streets. Conversion of our two-way street to one-way traffic helps speed the motion of cars through downtown at the expense of pedestrian comfort and business vitality. Cities also need to limit the use and length of turn lanes. They need to avoid swooping geometries. Bike lanes are important. Paducah has a bike culture that is ready to grow if provided with bike facilities. Paducah needs to have a continuous on-street parking on Broadway and adjacent commercial streets. Parking provides pedestrian safety, causes drivers to slow down, and provides life to city sidewalks. We also should have a continuous shade trees within our Broadway corridor. We need to replace unwarranted signals with mostly all-way stop signs. Four-way stop signs require motorists to approach each intersection, as a negotiation requires more eye contact from each driver. Remember, these are 10 recommendations from Jeff Speck when he made his visit. In addition to Jeff Speck's comments, the Neighborhood Revitalization Committee was created in response to the National Citizen Survey conducted in 2013. Several committee recommendations were substantiated in the Paducah Walkable City recommendations. They are: explore bikeway connectivity, including bike lanes and shared use paths; continue to budget for sidewalk and street improvements. What is our next step in implementing some of the proposed changes that we've just heard? Implementation of the 3 of the aforementioned recommendations will show progress. The first is conversion of Broadway and Jefferson from one-way to two-way. incorporate bike lanes into the transportation network on Broadway and Jefferson Street, and replace traffic signals with all-way stops on Broadway and Jefferson Street. Why are these changes good for Paducah? It is envisioned that improving the vehicular and bicycle network will improve mobility between downtown and our adjacent neighborhoods. It will increase the livability of residents within those neighborhoods and increase the economic health of the downtown and the surrounding neighborhoods. A few quotes from the National Main Street Center. First, perhaps the most important reason for changing the traffic flow of a downtown street is to improve the economic well-being of the commercial district. A survey of 25 towns and cities that converted to Main Street showed that many have experienced significant reductions in vacant floor space after the conversion. Number two, a major concern of organizations working to revitalize traditional commercial districts is to improve retail sales, and more specifically to boost the visibility and accessibility of the retail segment of the district. In this regard, making the circulation system more customer-friendly is a prerequisite to increasing the retail segment of downtown and appealing to investors and merchants who are interested in coming back to Main Street. The final two from the National Main Street Center. Retailers aren't the only businesses depending on easy-to-understand traffic operations. Service operations and professional offices also need a circulation system that is easy to understand and to navigate. And in most small to medium-sized communities from 10 to 50,000 people, two-way streets are preferable. And the final quote from the National Main Street Center. Another perception that affects the success of downtown retailing is, does it feel exciting? Are there lots of people? That indicates a certain degree of congestion. Thus, a commercial district needs to have a certain level of traffic so that it appears busy or is busy. Two-way streets add more cars to the streets in opposite directions. Additional recommendations for the conversion of Broadway and Jefferson Street from a one-way pair to two-way can be found in the Renaissance Area Master Plan. The plan states it is recommended that each of these streets be returned to a two-way flow of traffic. While the traffic flow currently is not a major impediment along Broadway due to the slowed speeds as a result of its signalization and streetscape improvements, two-way flow could improve business visibility and some degree provide a traffic pattern more consistent with the character that Paducah wishes to reinforce. The process of the implementation of these traffic improvements should reflect the connection between transportation and land use, economic development, and community values that are critical to the success of the overall downtown area. If successful, planned, and implemented, the outcome will provide for better management of traffic and access in downtown, but more importantly, it will provide for a livable, economically viable downtown that improves access and safety for pedestrians and visitors. The specific recommendations that I referred to earlier include Paducah Street Network. The first thing we should consider is revert Broadway and Jefferson to two-way as well as the one-way segment of Water Street. And once again, a warrant study should be completed to justify decisions to modify intersections. Next, Paducah has an up-and-coming biking culture that will grow if provided with adequate facilities. The experience in many American cities has been that a modest investment in bike lanes result in dramatic increase in cycling. Experience in a large number of cities is making it clear that the key to bicycle safety is the increase in biking population so that drivers expect to see them, and in turn, the key to establishing a larger biking population is the provision of buffered bike lanes, protected bike lanes. The plan is to incorporate buffered bike lanes on Broadway and Jefferson Street. These bike lanes encourage bicyclists to ride outside of the 2-foot buffer or door zone when the buffer is between parked cars and the bike lanes. Jefferson would have an outgoing bike lane from the terminus of the Greenway Trail at Jefferson and 2nd Street to 28th Street. The incoming bike lane would begin at Jefferson at 28th Street and proceed to 19th Street and switch to Broadway, and then the bike lane would proceed down Broadway until you reach the streetscape at 7th Street. And what you see, there's three different graphics. The graphic in the upper right obviously shows the boulevard section of Jefferson Street. Looking to the far right of that, you see the parking lane, the 2-foot buffer lane, the 5-foot bike lane, and then the travel lane for the vehicles. up on the upper left-hand corner and to the left, you're looking at Broadway, and the far upper left is the Jefferson Street without the boulevard section, how the bicycle lane would work going out from 2nd Street out towards 28th Street. This map depicts the existing greenway, and that's the darker green line on the upper portion of that map that runs from the Perkins Creek Nature Preserve to Campbell Street. Funding is in place for the next segment from Campbell Street to Jefferson Street. At this time, it has not been completed. The proposed bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, would start at the termination point on Jefferson Street and proceed to 28th Street, creating an 8-mile loop eventually back to Noble Park. Please note the parked cars on Jefferson Street and the amount of available space for bicycles and vehicles. The graphic on the bottom left depicts the same street with the changes. Now, on the graphic on the left, on the outside, you can see the 2 cars parked. That's very similar to the aerial photograph you see. Directly adjacent to those cars in the aerial photograph, you'd have the 2-foot buffer lane, then you'd have the bicycle lane, and then the traveling lane for the vehicles. The third recommendation we propose to address is the replacement of traffic signals on Broadway with all-way stop signs on 9th, 7th, 6th, and 5th Street, and to restripe North Water Street to include parking on western curb. Jefferson Street considerations could include study adding a signal at 3rd and Jefferson Street, review existing signal at 4th and Jefferson Street, at 6th and Jefferson Street, remove the signal and add a 4-way stop, at 9th and Jefferson Street, remove signal and add 4-way stop, at 17th Street and Jefferson Street, at all-way stop. Once again, a warrant study should be completed to justify these decisions. Following are the steps to implementation. We need to procure engineering services for design. Then we need to apply for the Transportation Alternative Program grant and implement the plan upon notice of award. It should be noted that we will encourage open and public dialogue with all affected community members throughout the entire process. The TAP grant is due on September 30th of 2015. The total project cost is anticipated to be approximately $610,000, which includes construction as well as engineering and surveying. And the final slide, this is another example of what a buffered bike lane looks like. This is from the National Association of City Transportation Officials guidebook. And it was interesting, and I wanted to include this because really what you see there is Jefferson Street. In between those 2 yellow lines, if that was a boulevard section, that would be what I'm referring to as the buffered bike lanes going out through Jefferson Street. That's very similar. And that is it. And once again, this is a before a municipal order to actually apply for a Transportation Alternative Program grant here in a few minutes. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Have you had any feedback from the businesses on Broadway?
Not at this time, Commissioner. What we do plan on doing, though, very shortly, especially with approval of the municipal order, is actually starting to go out and talk to the business owners for educational purposes. Next month, we do have a planned presentation to the Downtown Business Owners Group that's been recently reestablished through Paducah Main Street.
So if we apply for the grant and change our mind, we just don't take the grant, but is that how it would work?
Well, this is a municipal order for us to apply. At some point, they'll get back with it and say you've been approved. At that point, we have to come back to the City Commission to accept those monies from that grantee, the granting agency.
Having the streets, Jefferson, are one-way streets. It's kind of interesting to we have the fella in talked about more walkable communities, and I get that. So, what was the thinking to make the streets one way?
Typically, when their conversion from 2-way to 1-way, it was for transportation purposes, for the reason of getting the most people in and out of a downtown area as possible, as quickly as possible, and the most. That's typically the reasoning for that conversion.
Okay, so now we want the traffic downtown, but not moving as fast.
That's correct. And we want more eyes on businesses.
Right.
We want to slow people down a little bit. We want eyes on buildings, eyes on other vehicles, eyes on pedestrians. We want to encourage that activity to happen within our downtown area.
Okay.
Steve, will the study address things like loading zones, unloading zones, whether they'll have alley access?
There's the traffic study is going to be looking at a lot of things. I mean, there's going to be a complete study for the entire Jefferson Broadway corridor that's going to be looking at everything from where every access point is, where all the signage and signalization's at. But it's also one of the key points that we're going to have to look at is how is unloading, loading handled within the Broadway corridor.
Okay.
Obviously, with it being two-way right now, a delivery truck can park on the street and vehicles can still move around them. That's something that's
As a
going to have to be
bottleneck.
addressed and looked at through this process. But certainly other communities have done it, and they
Right.
found a solution to the problem, and I figure we will also.
Okay.
Okay, one of the questions I have is, was it slide 17?
The last one?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay, what happens when you get to the end of the boulevard and you have a cross street?
Right.
And you have a turning lane and a straight-through lane. How do you handle that?
As part of that engineering surveying, there's going to be a biking pavement plan per se. Many communities have done different things. Some have just terminated the bike lane at the intersection and you continue on. Some actually have staging areas that stage out in front of vehicles. So when you pull up to the intersection and it's your turn, you actually move over into the travel lane. That way you have the ability to take a left or a right. There's many different options. Different communities do differently. That's why we want to bring transportation engineers to come out with a positive recommendation that they think will work best for our community.
Okay, another question is, if you're in the bike lane, if you're in the bike lane and you're going west on Jefferson, and the car's beside you and the car wants to make a right as you're in the bike lane, is that just the people on the bicycles being aware that car is going to make a right turn?
Absolutely. Well, it's the bicycle and the automobile being aware of what's around them. But once again, at the intersections where most of your turning movements are going to happen, and that's really what's going to be key as part of the study process through that planning document on how we want to address intersections with bicycles and automobiles showing up at the same location.
Okay. I mean, I don't know when we went to one-ways on Broadway and Jefferson, but, when I was a child and we came to Paducah shopping, they were two-way, the streets were, and so I know that a lot of people have said, I don't think we should have any traffic lights. It should be one way, and we should be able to go as fast as we want down there. But no, they have, seriously. but I don't agree with that. I like the idea of the two-way, and I know that change is hard for a lot of people, but I really think for the businesses. And when I'm driving down the street, I tend to look into the storefronts as I'm driving. And it's a lot easier to do it if you're only having to look at one storefront instead of switching back and forth between the two.
Mayor, you all asked the question, when did we go to that? I think if we look back in Paducah's history, we'll see that we had a much more robust retail downtown, and everybody flocked downtown to do their Christmas shopping. It was well before the mall ever came on that, and then it just stayed that way on that. But from a retail point of view, of course, in my conversations with Cafaro, who owns the mall, I asked him, I said, well, why do we have a one-story mall as opposed to a two-story mall? Because they seemed more interesting. And he says, from a retail point of view, the one-story malls do better because the shops get more than one chance at the shopper.
Going and coming.
They got to go and they got to come back. On a two-story mall, you just get them one way. So when you start thinking about the retail opportunities, if we have two-way streets on Broadway or Jefferson, then your retail shops get two opportunities at a shopper coming downtown in lieu of a one opportunity, because if you pass by, well, I missed my parking place or I missed my turn, I'll do that some other time. So the two-way gives more opportunities there. So learned that from listening to a mall owner.
And there's also the thought, this may seem odd, but it's all about safety. And you can read, as I told you at lunch today, I said in the country of Sweden, they all drove on what we would say is the wrong side of the road. And in 1967, over 1 weekend, they decided to start traveling on the right side of the road. And, of course, people just wrung their hands and said, oh, my gosh, we'll just have so many more accidents and so many more problems because we're going to switch to the different side of the road. And accidents went down 17% the first year. Because people were, careful. Very careful. Anyway, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Thank you very much.
That's my wife. Okay.
He told me he was excited earlier today, too.
Big day for Commissioner Rhodes.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Some of the stuff we do is somewhat mundane. And there's some things that come across. I mean, each of us have different interests and excitements. And, if we were talking about football, you'd be all about it. And this is biking, so I'm all about it.
I have a
We
bike.
don't have a city. We don't have a city.
I'm excited about the bike lane.
All right, well, good deal. It's all about exercise, breaking a sweat.
Why would you think I wouldn't be excited about bike lanes?
I don't know.
Do you ride a bike, Commissioner?
Yes,
I don't.
I have a bike. I ride my bike.
I don't. I had a bicycle accident when I was 12, and I never got back on.
Oh.
Harold,
yes.
do you?
No,
No.
I have two.
Then it must be a girl thing,
I think.
You got-
a scaredy girl thing.
All right.
Carol, I think you have Commissioner Abraham with the minutes first.
I move that the reading of the minutes for September 1st, 2015 City Commission meeting be waived, and that the minutes of said meetings prepared by the city clerk be approved as written.
Second.
Everybody read the minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. Commissioner Galt, I think you have a motion.
I move that the rules for conducting city commission meetings be suspended insofar as they are in conflict with the printed agenda for this meeting. Otherwise, the rules are to remain in full force and effect.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. So we'll go on to our appointments. Whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint Shirley Thompson as a member of the Paducah Human Rights Commission to replace Matthew Schultz, who has resigned. This term will expire July 24th, 2017.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the recommendation of Mayor Kaler in appointing Shirley Thompson as a member of the Paducah Human Rights Commission.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. On to our motions. Commissioner Rhodes, please.
Okay. Have the documents. Okay, I move that the following documents and bids be received and filed. Certificates of liability insurance, B&R Electrical Incorporated, Physiotherapy Associates Holding Incorporated, Commissioner's deed for 504 North 16th Street, Master Commissioner deed of correction with Clarence Griggs and Griffin Incorporated, contracts and agreements, change order number 1 with Woodall Companies LLC for the Park Service Recreation Center roof replacement, reimbursement agreement with Atmos Energy for gas line relocation extension construction for the Olive Church Road Improvement Project, bid for planning department 421 North 5th Street, Adam Warriors and Brandy Harless, Frank and Joanne White, 622, 630, 626, 634 South 12th Street, and 1115 Ohio Street. Aaron Prather, Julian Rose.
Second.
City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. We'll go on to our municipal orders. Commissioner Wilson, please.
Upon the recommendation of the city manager, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah order that the personnel changes on the attached list be approved.
Second.
Any questions on that? Okay, City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that a municipal order entitled "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Application for a 2015 Transportation Alternatives Program TAP Grant in the amount of $488,560 through the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for the Broadway Jefferson Street two-way conversion with bike lanes project be adopted."
Second.
City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Accepting the Bid of Aaron Prather in the amount of $1 for purchase of real property located at 622, 626, 630, 634 South 12th Street and 1115 Ohio Street, and authorizing the mayor to execute a deed for same," be adopted.
Second.
We received 2 bids on this property. Staff is recommending that the Mr. Prather receive the property. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay. City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. We'll go into ordinances adoptions. Commissioner Rhodes, please. Is that right? No, what do I do here?
Emergency.
You're going to do
Oh, yes. Who has that?
We're going to move item D under introduction to an emergency reading. Commissioner Wilson has it.
Okay. I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce and adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor's Execution of a 2015-2016 Kentucky Highway Safety Program Reimbursement Grant Award with the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, a division of the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah hereby authorizes the mayor to execute the 2015-2016 Kentucky Highway Safety Program Reimbursement Grant Award with the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, a division of the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, in the amount of $22,500 for overtime hours associated with saturation patrols, including fuel cost. This program does not require any local cash or in-kind match. Pursuant to KRS 83A.060, the City Commission suspends the requirement of a second reading and publication of this ordinance due to today's notification by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety to the Planning Department that the submission deadline for the grant agreement is September 15th, 2015.
second.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Fortunately, this has become a annual grant, similar to the other two that are going to be read tonight, so be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
No.
City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Okay, Commissioner Rhodes, please.
Okay. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Approving the Recommendation of the Urban Renewal and Community Development Agency to accept the bid of Mitchell Construction, LLC for constructing of a new home at 1606 Harrison Street and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah accepts the bid of Mitchell Construction, LLC in the amount of $154,360 for the construction of a new home at 1606 Harrison Street and authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for same.
Second.
Okay. City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, approving and authorizing the execution of a subordination agreement between the City of Paducah, Kentucky and Community Financial Services Bank relating to the redevelop and revitalization of the Smedley Yiser Building in the Lowertown neighborhood. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves and authorizes the execution on behalf of the city of the subordination agreement between the City of Paducah and Community Financial Services Bank relating to Bighorn Properties LLC's financing of its rehabilitation and revitalization of the real property located at 533 Madison Street, Paducah, Kentucky, generally known as the Smedley Yiser Building, located in the Lowertown neighborhood of the City of Paducah.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance Amending Chapter 126-76 Sign Regulations of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The city is hereby amends Section 126-76 Sign Regulations of Chapter 126 Zoning of the Paducah Code of Ordinance to allow the following with requirements. Electronic signs in the B2 downtown business zone, reported windows, signage in various businesses in industrial zone, bulletin boards and identification signs at cemeteries in residential zones. Sandwich board signage will be permitted in Lowertown.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye. Commissioner Rhodes, please. Did I miss something? Commissioner Galt. Speak up.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance Amending Section 126-83E, Landscape Regulations of Chapter 126, Zoning of the Paducah Code of Ordinances. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby amends Section E, Screening Requirements of Section 126-83, Landscape Regulations of Chapter 126, Zoning of the Code of Ordinances to change the screening requirements for residential zones or residential structures on lots in other zones by decreasing the fence height on corner lots to 4 foot or 4 feet on both street sides.
Second.
I've had some questions about that. So I had asked Steve earlier if he would clarify some of that. First of all, I know it came through as a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, or Planning Commission to us.
Yes, ma'am.
And so on a corner lot, I know fences are currently grandfathered in, but if you have a fence behind your house, it can be 6 foot if it's 4 foot from the street. Or can you explain that a little bit better?
Certainly. Currently, on a corner lot, you have a front yard, side yard, and rear yard requirements. The front yard is 4 feet. On both sides of the house, it's a 6 foot requirement, and the rear yard is 8. This is on a corner lot. So, in effect, what you've done is that, their front yard, you have a 4 foot fence, but on the side, which is adjacent to the other street, you can have a 6 foot fence, and the rear an 8 foot. The proposed change, what it does is basically says that where you have your residence, and the front yard and your side yard, all fences within those areas can be no taller than 4 feet. But at any point of the exterior corner of that building inward, they can be 6 foot and 8 foot fence. And I have, hopefully everyone got a drawing that kind of depicts what I was just referring to.
So if it's behind your house, if your house faces this street and it's behind your house, it can be 6 feet tall.
That's correct, as long as it's in line with your back corner of your house.
That really preserves the view shed looking down the block is what that's aimed at.
That was the original intent of this text amendment, is when an adjacent property at the rear of the corner lot, if they were to be sitting on their porch, they would have some view shed looking up the street at the adjacent structure, which is on the corner. or the adjacent property.
But I guess my confusion from looking at this is what it doesn't protect is if I'm walking down the sidewalk on a corner lot, then there's now a 4-foot fence. And if hypothetically someone did not have window dressings, you just turn to the right and you can see right through the windows. Where before it would have been a 6-foot fence. Am I understanding?
No, yes, I completely understand what you're saying, and yes, that could happen.
So really, the 6-foot fence is to provide privacy for that house, for the backyard,
Right.
and
The side yard.
the side yard.
So the side yard is now 4 feet.
Unless it's lined up with the house, even with the house.
That's correct.
Yeah, you can take it off the back corner of your house.
So if it goes
Do 6
out
feet.
around the house.
But the fence coming down along the side of your house, facing the secondary street, the proposal says it can't be any taller than 4 feet. If you brought the fence back, even with your house, well, then it could be 6 feet back to the back property line.
So what's the ordinance on planting like Leland cypress trees to form a green screen?
Yeah, there are no requirements prohibiting planting of trees except within visibility triangles at the intersection of those two streets. And I believe that is a 15-foot equidistant triangle with nothing over 24 inches. But for the remaining portion of the lot, you can plant as many trees as you want.
So you could do a 4-foot fence and then come right behind the 4-foot fence with the Leland cypress to form a 20-foot tall screen.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And so the greatest part is, though, for anybody who has an existing fence, they now have a choice to leave it the way it is, or if they would like to have a lower fence, now they can.
Could have anyway.
Any fence is there if this is to be adopted.
But my point is, but if I have a home that had an 8-foot fence and didn't like an 8-foot fence or a 6-foot fence, I can have the option of changing my fence and putting down a lower fence without a tree or whatever.
Yeah, but you'd always had
You've
that.
always
But you
had
could have
that
done that
option.
anyway.
Now you can't put it any higher than 4 feet on the side.
That's fine.
Unless it's even with your house.
Right.
But my point is that the homeowner has the maximum flexibility in this, is all I'm saying.
No.
It has
They have
No.
less
I think
flexibility.
they have a lot less flexibility.
That's not flexible at all.
They have less flexibility.
Steve, what would you explain with the setback requirements and the typical placement of sidewalks? How close to the existing sidewalk might the fence be placed? It's going to depend a little bit, I'm sure.
Quite often, the fences are very close to the back of the sidewalk if they're using it to enclose their property.
Is a 6-foot high fence going to, from a car vehicle, I'm thinking about vehicular safety or pedestrian safety now, looking through the intersection, 1 or 2 rows back in a stack of parked cars, is a 6-foot fence going to be more obtrusive than a 4 typically?
Well, with the existing 6-foot fence that we have right now, we still have the traffic visibility requirements at intersections where they can't have a fence over 24 inches, 15-foot equidistance from that intersection. So that's going to remain in place.
Okay.
So not necessarily, Jeff.
So can you tell me what the thinking was, why this came up?
Well, it's primarily to establish the view shed. Additionally, also, there has been some design requirements in some of our design standards that have always had the wish to preserve the open space in the front yards and the view sheds from front porches. So we thought a proposal to bring before the commission sounded like a prudent thing to do.
So it went to the Planning Commission and they had a public hearing?
Yes, that's correct.
So why couldn't the 6-foot fence go right to the edge of your house where the porch starts and you could still have a view shed?
I'm sorry.
If you're on a corner lot,
Yes.
the 6-foot fence could go to the edge of your house where the porch starts and then drop down to 4 feet, which is what we can do now, right?
Yes.
Basically.
That's what you can do now. And historically, it's always what's been in the
So the view shed is from someone else's porch, right? Not from your porch.
That's the idea. Quite often, when you have, not all the time, but when you do have this type of configuration on the corner, the lot that's behind it goes in this direction, and you have the car, the house like that. So it's the ability for this person to look down the street.
Steve, is there some value to that view shed for pedestrians coming down the sidewalk adjacent to a 6-foot-high fence, which typically is going to be higher than what anybody can see?
Well, I think, for sure, pedestrians, as they're walking through neighborhoods, not being closed in by a taller fence, they feel safer. I think pedestrians like to be able to see, at a distance, what's coming up to them and be able to see what's approaching them. So I think from a pedestrian standpoint, they would prefer lower fences walking in a neighborhood.
So I'm going to ask one more time because I just want to be clear because it says 4 foot on here. As long as the fence comes out even with your house to the back, it can be 6 foot.
That's correct. The 4 feet is just representing from that line to the back of the sidewalk, which is the property line.
And obviously the logic there is the house is at least 6 feet high, so it's blocking it anyway from that point back on the lot, so it doesn't matter.
So if a homeowner, if they have a fence right now, say this is 21st Street right here, and it's 4 feet.
Way we know.
4 feet coming here and coming down, and right now you're grandfathered in. Fences, they don't last forever.
Not only are you grandfathered in, but the state statute allows to repair and replace when needed portions of that fence in perpetuity. It's only when that fence is damaged or destroyed beyond 75% of its value that it does have to come back into compliance. So you can, if you were to come back and want to put up a brand new fence in the same type, in the same location, then you would have to come back into compliance with the regulations that are passed.
Okay, so
How many people attended that public hearing?
yeah,
And then make sure I mark this correctly so I'm understanding it. 6 foot, 6 foot to there, 4 foot to there.
No, it's the other way around.
Anything within this area is 4 foot.
Okay.
If it's from the back of the house to there, it could be 6 foot along that line.
okay, I'm just going to
So if you
So
go
what did you
out
just
and
a-
around the house, so if this is your corner of your house and you go back, you can do that. But if you went this way out and back, you could not do that.
That's correct. Anytime you encroach into that,
And most people have those for some level of privacy.
They've
Okay,
got
so-
a terrace out back or a patio.
So what led to this
So I got
recommendation?
it's actually, Commissioner, it's something that I've thought about for years, that protecting the view shed down streets within front yards or along streets was important. That's really where it is.
Let me suggest to the Commission that in our work with the survey and the neighborhood revitalization, mobility and walkability came out of that as priority area. Imagine walking down a street, approaching a corner, and for 20 or 30 feet before you get to the corner, you can't see what's coming at you potentially from the other direction on that sidewalk. There may be some value to people, some comfort in being able to see that. Not that I'm suggesting there's danger out there necessarily, but that's that kind of simultaneous open and closed feeling that Jeff Speck said was so important to people even in the downtown areas. I think that's a pretty serious issue, quite frankly, and would really, I would almost think, potentially cause some avoidance of some block areas if you can't tell what you're turning into or what's turning into you. You can't see it literally until you turn the corner and get on the sidewalk facing the other direction.
Yeah, but Jeff, I thought from a certain point it had to be 4 feet out to the sidewalk.
That's correct. The front yard has to be 4 feet now.
Right.
The front yard would have to be, so that.
Right,
So you're not going. You're going to be walking down the street to a 6-foot fence, and then you're going to have a great space of 4 foot that you can see down the street.
I just have a issue with. I mean, if you are talking about anything that's obstructing view from a vehicle standpoint, you're pulling up to a corner and you can't see because of fencing or something. Okay, I totally get that, but it seems to me that this recommendation is somewhat. I mean, if I'm a homeowner and I got a privacy fence, I mean, it's there for a reason, and if it's not obstructing any view from a vehicle standpoint, causing some safety, I don't think we have any business telling folks what to do with their property.
Had there been any safety concerns that had come up about it?
I didn't check
Or
into that,
visual?
Commissioner. So I did not research that.
If they had been taller, have they granted variances for them to be lower?
The Board of Adjustment has the authority to grant variances, dimensional variances, whether it be taller or shorter.
But off the top of your head, can you remember any that they have granted?
For taller, certainly. There's been instances where variance has been granted. A lot of that is because of topographic reasons. State statute does require findings of fact, and quite often it's because of the grade changes between a house or a road and the house, those types of things.
This may be an unfair question. If you were to go to Nashville, for example,
Yes, sir.
would their ordinance sort of line up with this?
I don't know, but I'd be happy to look at this further if you'd
I
like.
kind of get the impression that the planning commission is sort of saying, look, this is a more modern way to do things. It's more up to date. It's
Was that the case? It was more modern and up to date, or was it just more for visual?
It's my perspective of what I thought was the right thing to do. But as I said, I'd be happy to go back and look at this further and provide a report to you if you wish.
Well, I guess, I'm looking at it from a purely selfish standpoint. I'll admit it. Because I would like to have privacy on my corner lot.
Mhm.
It's on MLK, the house that may never get finished, but it's on MLK. And it's on a very, very busy, fast street. And it does concern me that I wouldn't have the ability to have a 6-foot fence there.
Sure.
For safety reasons. I mean, you can jump over a 4-foot fence pretty easy. Or the fact that I could put a 4-foot fence and then immediately behind it I could put my Leland cypress, which are going to grow to be 20 feet. I don't understand it. I mean, from a viewshed viewpoint, aren't the trees going to cause as much of a view impediment
I'm sorry.
I certainly could. Absolutely.
as a fence?
ask planning what the commission, what they were kind of maybe.
Well, I mean, do you want more study or?
Just vote on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready?
Okay. City
Commissioner
Clerk,
Abraham?
Calling for a vote.
we're just going to go ahead and vote on it. Do you want to
Oh,
study?
no,
Okay.
I do not.
Are you voting no?
No.
Commissioner Galt?
No.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilson?
No.
Mayor Kaler?
No.
Great. I love it.
Okay.
You know, I did that with the argumentative. It looks like
Commissioner Rhodes?
Commissioner Rhodes?
All right. Okay. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Section 126-108 Downtown Business Town Lift Zone, B2T of Chapter 126 Zoning of the Paducah Code of Ordinances. This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah hereby amends Section 108 Downtown Business Town Lift Zone, B2T of Chapter 126 Zoning of the Paducah Code of Ordinances to allow residential dwelling units, restaurant, bakery, pub, no drive-through permitted, and retail in the B2T zone, and also to set the criteria to permit the ground floor use of structures.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
All right.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kaler?
Aye. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Finance Director to Pay for the Sole Source Purchase of Body Cameras to be used by the Paducah Police Department." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah hereby authorizes the Finance Director to make a sole source purchase from Taser International in the amount of $105,540 for 65 body camera units to be used by the Paducah Police Department.
Second.
City Clerk?
Mr. Abraham?
Aye.
Mr. Galt?
Aye.
Mr. Rhodes?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye. Ordinance's introduction, Commissioner Abraham.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing and Approving the Sale of Surplus Municipal-Owned Real Property Located at 421 North 5th Street, Paducah, McCracken County, Kentucky, for purposes of redevelopment and revitalization in Lower Town neighborhood." This ordinance is summarized as follows. In this ordinance, the City of Paducah declares city-owned real property with improvements located at 421 North 5th Street in Paducah, McCracken County, Kentucky as surplus property and authorizes the sale of the surplus property to Adam Morris and Brandy Harless, who were the successful bidders offering to purchase the property for a purchase price in the amount of $1 and their commitment to invest up to $175,984 in the complete rehabilitation of the improvements located on the property in accordance with design and plans to be approved by the Historical and Architectural Review Commission of the city for purposes of redevelopment and revitalization in the Lower Town neighborhood. This ordinance further authorizes the mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, to execute and deliver a special warranty deed of conveyance of surplus property with reverter provisions.
Second.
Well, obviously, we're excited about this. This is our last property within the Lower Town neighborhood. We did get 2 bids. One was considered non-responsive, so staff recommendation to transfer the property to Adam Moyers and Brandy Harless, and they are here if you have any questions.
Well,
Good luck.
yeah, we're excited to have you all in our neighborhood and for you all to be working on this project. I know you'll do a great job, and it's exciting. A lot of hard work, but it'll be rewarding. Is this the red brick house?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We at this point, with this property being transferred, we own one lot, vacant lot between Martin Luther King and Park Avenue, and then we own a half lot. I believe it's on 6th Street. So that's it.
Okay, Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Approving the Execution of an Agreement and All Documents Relating Thereto with the U.S. Department of Justice for a 2015-2016 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Accountability Grant through the U.S. Department of Justice to be used by the Paducah Police." This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby approves the execution of a grant agreement and all documents relating thereto with the U.S. Department of Justice for 2015-2016 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Accountability Grant in the amount of $10,912 to be used by the Paducah Police Department to purchase body-worn cameras. No local match is required.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
We're obviously looking forward to starting that project, and as Chief Barnhill's highlighted in the past, demonstrating the good work that men and women of the police department do every day.
We thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rhodes, please.
All right, I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Reimbursement Grant Agreement with all documents relating thereto with the U.S. Department of Justice for a Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Program Award. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The mayors have been authorized to execute a reimbursable grant amendment and all documents relating thereto with the U.S. Department of Justice for a Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Program Award in the amount of $12,644.54 for assistance with purchasing bulletproof vests to be used by the Paducah Police Department.
Second.
Any questions? Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't do this.
Right. We do.
Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Finance Director to make payment to the Paducah-McCracken County Convention and Visitors Bureau for cost of hosting the 2015 Railvac FLW Series Championship on the Ohio River in Paducah. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby authorizes and directs the Finance Director to make payment in the amount of $22,500 to the Paducah-McCracken County Convention and Visitors Bureau for costs of hosting the 2015 Railvac FLW Series Championship, which will be held on the Ohio River in Paducah.
Second.
City is partnering with CVB to host this tournament that be a great thing for Paducah, but among other things, it will be the first major event that will be hosted at our new boat launch. So we look very forward to it. Our contribution to that is $22,500.
It's a great opportunity for our community and to everyone to see the boat launch, and hopefully there'll be more fishing tournaments that will generate off of this one.
Bet how many come into town for that? Do you know, Sandra?
No, they have the numbers. It's
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's huge. I think they're actually overflowing onto the other boat launch downtown too, aren't they, Rick? Do you know? I think they're going to end up being used in both, and have all hotels booked and a lot of people in the community.
Okay. It's okay, Rick. City Manager's report.
The RFP for the solid waste transfer station and related facilities is finally going out tomorrow, so we're happy about that. 432 Broadway, information has been received from all concerns that were asked to look at options for long-term shoring up of the adjacent building. Those are being evaluated right now, and it looks like we are going to be looking at some involvement in some permanent shoring up, if you will. We have an engineering firm putting that together, and we'll bring something forward at some point for us to look at and try to determine what's all involved financially and logistically, and we will go from there. So we'll keep you informed as that proceeds. The hotel ownership was in Frankfort today. Steve Doolittle also attended the hearing, during which time the issuance of industrial revenue bonds was heard before the state. There were no objections to that, so we anticipate an order being issued tomorrow, which effectively approves that, authorizes it. However, there is a 15-day comment period and potentially an appeal period if there are comments that could kick that out till the end of October. So, as with a lot of things, the wheels of government grind slowly, but that's so that there can be every opportunity for public participation, comment to happen. But from all indications, everything was looking very good there, and that, of course, is a very, very important component of the feasibility of that project. So happy to share that information tonight. That's all I have.
Okay. Any commissioners' comments tonight? Any public comments? We do have an executive session. Commissioner Galt, I think you have that.
I do. I move that the board go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: future sale or acquisition of specific parcels of real estate as permitted by KRS 6101B, and proposed or pending litigation is permitted by KRS 61.8101C.
Second.
And we will be coming back.
Would you like for me to call the
Yes.
roll? Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye.
We will?
Resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, making declaration of official intent with respect to..." Is that right?
Am I doing that wrong? That's what they told me. Ask the city manager, but that's what I was given.
Who was the day in? It was a national, somebody who gave the wrong speech somewhere.
What's the question?
She wanted to know, she was reading the motion and she thought it was wrong.
No, you thought it was wrong.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
All right.
You looked at me? You know how Tammy can be.
We do.
Suspense is building.
I move that a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, making declaration of official intent with respect to reimbursement of temporary advances made for capital expenditures be made from subsequent borrowing," be adopted.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye.
Take that back.
Sure.
Thank you. Now, unless you have further business.
All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.